All right, guys. Welcome to Whispers from the Void. I'm Evan.
And I'm Phil. Do this for the intimate. Thanks for tuning in, folks.
It's going to be a little bit of a different one. We are live.
Yeah.
On location.
It's so good.
Oh, I'm excited. I'm seething with excitement.
It's the second time we're alive in the same location.
Yeah. You imagine that this is us? It's awesome.
It's funny.
We are here at a place I talk about probably all the time. literally almost every episode. We are here at the taproom of Four Phantoms Brewing Company. We are here with Drew and Jenn, owners, brewers of such a fantastic establishment.
Fantastic.
Glad you guys are here.
Oh, dude, I'm so excited. This is fantastic. I talk about this place
all the time.
Too much.
because my job is editing. So what I do, I just go on internet. I'm like, okay, what brewery is he taking? Each time it's Four Phantoms.
It's like
always. Fucking times.
Always.
Always Four Phantoms. I'm like, oh, it's so sick. I love that brewery already.
I have bullied my favorite restaurant to bring in their beer. I've done drastic things.
Yeah.
I've done drastic things.
It's I mean it's a little kind of crazy thinking about like how much I think about this place and have like been obsessing and like crazing over it over the past like 9 months. And then I met Evan and I'm like, oh shit, man, like this guy loves this as much as I do. Like, and then like, you know, you get that energy from it. It's like, it's awesome.
And honestly, what is fun is the metal theme, the metal vibe that I got, because in Quebec we got like 200, let's say 300 breweries. Yeah. And there's some metal breweries, but not a lot. Yeah. Like we got this one in Montreal, it's Mutoid. Yeah. Mutoid is very metal, very rock, and very underground. It's cool, but there's not a lot. And when I heard about Four Phantoms, I was like, oh, that's my kind of place. Yeah, I want to live in Massachusetts in Greenfield just for that.
It's so... You know, you start for a brewery with character. Yeah. And the thing that really attracts me to this is obviously it hits the nail with the metal and all that, but it's just the character. Yeah. And so often you find breweries now that start that have great intentions, but they just lack, you know, they're just the same as all the other ones. They lack the character. They lack a personality.
They lack the personality in the beers, and that's what I like. Like yes. I tasted one beer yesterday at VOX, and this one, there's this character to it. There's something unique, and I'm curious about each time you're doing a brew, how do you process it? How do you like a brew? You want something that is unique, but you want something that people will enjoy. How do you do it?
Yeah, so I think sort of later on when I was brewing at a music venue called the Crystal Ballroom in Portland, Oregon. Okay. It's a brewery on the second floor, and we started a series called Blasphemous where we would pair with bands. I'd make them like a special like suited beer that like fit a theme and things like that for their show. And I remember a couple of them, like Black Breath and Bell Witch, were two of the ones that like really hit, and we like really connected on that. And that's like, so sometimes the bands would come by and like, you know, it started out as like kind of a joke where I'd be like, all right, we're like, this is my brew ritual. So like now we're gonna like carve a pentagram into the mash tun, and like we're gonna like leave, you know, samples in the four corners for like Satan and shit like that, you know, like, and it was like started out as a joke, but then like I just started doing it like on like every brew I would have this like ritual process that I would go through. And so, like, part of, you know, what that brings to it, right, like, and, you know, being in Western Mass, there's so much magic in the air out here, and, like, bringing focus and will and intention, you know, to that whole task, and, like, really thinking of it like a ritual. And, you know, in that same way, like the people that trained me, because I didn't come at this from like an academic place or anything like that. I was trained on the job, you know, by, you know, my elders, you know, and then things like that.
The elders that just trained the trainee, and now you became a master.
Yeah, so it's like, you know, kind of like coming up through the trades, right? Like these people imparting their knowledge and their wisdom on you, and so like figuring out what works for making a beer and what doesn't based on the profile, you know, the end product that you want.
Yeah.
So for us, I mean, cold conditioning, never rushing fermentation. We cold ferment pretty much everything.
Okay.
So, you know, even though we don't make 100% lagers, like even our ales are cold fermented. So we're always on the back end of fermentation in terms of temperature, and then let them finish on a little bit of the warmer end. So you get a little bit of like a cleaner profile that way, and not so much because like yeast, man, it's like you have this like symbiotic relationship with yeast, and it's like it can get depending on how long you've worked with a yeast strain, it can get pretty like deep and like intimate, you know, because like they are providing you with like your livelihood.
It's the life.
Yeah.
It's the life of the beer.
Yeah.
And I made my own beer one time, and like I never thought about that the yeast that is so much important.
Yeah.
I never thought about it. And every brewer that I meet, they're just like, yeast is so important.
Yeast is life. Yeah.
Yeast is the life. Like without yeast, there's no beer.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
and it's one of those things like somehow the people who came up in brewing and in fermentation like figured this out over thousands and thousands of years that like, you know, it's treating these little microbes, you know, in your solution right is like the key to like getting it right.
Okay.
And so it's one of those weird deals where like billions of these little creatures are like, you know, working in the fermenter every day, and it's like you can get totally heady about it, but at the same time, like, and then they just fucking die at the end of it, which is the most metal shit ever. Like every time I make a beer, like it's just like this like epic like mass die-off of like billions.
It's like
of
an
yeast
epic
cells.
quest for you.
It's just
epic
genocide.
Like, we have to do what our masters are saying to do, and then we die.
Yeah, they die. Yeah, they fuck, they make booze, and then they die.
We should do a metal song about it.
There's a oh man, who are they from? It was a guy from Municipal Waste, and I forget his band.
Dave
Trappist.
Yeah. That's
Oh, the band Trappist.
Yeah, that's isn't that Dave?
I don't know if it's Dave.
That's not. Is it Dave?
Dave Whitty?
Dave Whitty?
I'm not sure.
I mean, dude, that's right up his fucking alley.
Okay, you know what? All
right.
Got Google.
Yeah.
While he Googles,
whip out the little computer.
Yeah. While he Googles that, I want to talk about how the idea for the brewery, the transition. Obviously, you guys moved from Oregon to come here, to pursue a dream, or you know, largely just kind of like pursue your ideas and talk about sort of like the jump and obviously just like how crazy. You know, we had the pandemic. Basically, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
We had the pandemic. You show up, you're getting things together. Pandemic happens. Suddenly, it's like everything's thrown through a fucking loop. Let's just talk about that whole journey.
Yeah.
They just looked at each other.
Where do we begin?
Yes. So we moved out to Portland from Nashville, Tennessee, in Portland, Oregon, in 2010.
2010, yeah.
2010, Jen got an amazing opportunity to get her master's out there, and we had friends living in Portland, and it was just a very logical kind of next step and adventure, right?
Adventure.
Getting out there. Portland is such a cool town. I was teaching at the time, couldn't find a teaching job out there, so started bartending. Eventually moved to a company called McMenamins, which operates like a hotel, soaking pool, bars,
Adult
brewery.
playground, basically, is what they offer.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
At an old elementary school that they renovated. And on my days off, like, I would go shadow the brewers at the restaurant I was managing for them. And so, like, they got... that was sort of how I first got my brewing gig. That was, like, 10 years ago. Wow. Which is, like, fucking incredible. And so Jen went to Hampshire College out here in Western Mass. And you were working as, like, the head baker at Cafe Coco in Greenfield. And so when I was visiting her, I think it was during actually Thanksgiving, a number of years ago, I woke up at her baker's hours, like 4 something in the morning. We went, she did her baking gig at Cafe Coco, and then when we were done, we met up with her buddy, went to the People's Pint. Yeah. That was the first, like, brewed in Western Mass, like, craft beer I had ever had, which was Farmer's Brown, which is, like, fucking legendary, like, Western Mass beer. So People's Pint are, like, OGs. Like, they started early 90s before, like, there was a whole fabrication industry for making brewery equipment and things like that. So, like, you got to...
It's like Wachusett.
Yeah,
started in
exactly.
1995.
Yeah. Or, like, Berkshire Brewing Company, like, those guys, like... This was back, like, when you had to have, like, post-welded, like, milk tanks and stuff like that, because there was nobody that knew in this country, like, there was nobody who knew how to make brewing equipment outside of these huge contract things. So, basically, like, did that for a while, and then hit a point where I was doing the Blasphemous series with the bands and the shows, where it's like, I want to step out, like, I want to do my own thing. And so Jen and I talked, and we were like, we came back here in October, visited, and we're like, this is like the perfect place to mix, like, folk horror, metal, D&D, like, all of these interests that we have for this, like, for this brewery.
Yeah.
It's also small enough that it felt like a place where we could go and create community, too. Because we had been living in Portland, and even though, like, Portland's a small city, it's still a city, and we really liked the idea of, like, coming to a smaller town where we could, like, know our neighbors and, like, be able to create a space that, like, allowed us to, like, meet people and talk to folks that came through our doors, and that was part of the vision too.
Yeah, and actually, like, 2 of the most important folks, like, so we came out here, I got a job as the lead cider maker for Artifact Cider Project. Where it was, like, all spontaneous fermentation house, like, very rarely used lab culture, like, it was all just the yeast and the bacteria that were in the apples that we used to ferment. All of that, so more like a natural winery type of thing. And actually, the 2 people that are sitting at the bar right now are like own the most important orchard that we worked with. So Pine Hill Orchard, which the apple wood that's woven into our bar is Pine Hill's applewood that our bar maker planed and, like, wove into the middle. And so it's between 2 huge things of a mass walnut. It's cool. It's meant to represent Jormungandr, right? The world serpent. So cool. And like, we want this space, and, like, our whole mission from the beginning was to create community. We want this place to be like an old school pub, right? Where all of your neighbors can come, and, like, not necessarily like you sit in your own, like, separate bubbles and separate tables and stuff like that, but, like, this is where you see people you know.
Something, like, that reunites.
Yeah, right. Yes. Like, so people, like, up wandering around, like, seeing everybody they know. Like, it's not, that reminds me of pubs in Montreal, honestly. Like, and
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, and in Ireland, and, like,
I love your
places
philosophy.
we've been.
I love the philosophy of your brewery because it reminds me of home. Reminds me of Quebec.
And like metal fucking shows, right?
Yeah,
like,
and metal
where you go and it's like, you don't know them by name, but it's like that kid you saw at the Knocked Loose show, that kid you saw at the Conan show.
Yeah.
Like like you see this kid at every fucking show you go to, and so you go say what's up.
Exactly.
Like, man, how fucking sick was that Gate Creeper show that we saw the other weekend or something like that. And it's like creating these connections and community, right? Like, and so we wanted to bring all of that, to this space.
I want to take a moment to talk about the name Four Phantoms.
Yeah.
Because I remember you told me about this, and I had thought that was true, and that it, like, obviously validated my thoughts. But it's a Bell Witch. It's a Bell Witch reference.
Yeah.
For those that don't know.
It is a Bell Witch reference. I was listening to that album, and Mirror Reaper.
Yes.
And we made a beer with them. Bell Witch was like a huge part of just my day-to-day. I'd listen to them when I brewed. I'd listen to them on the bus ride home. Mm-hmm. And Four Phantoms, when you dig into that album, it's about people being killed by the four elements. every track is like a different way of somebody like brutally dying.
Yeah.
With air, earth, fire, and water. But I thought about how in that name it also reminded me of just passing seasons, and the way that when you get to winter, that ghost of autumn is still behind you. When you get to spring, there's that ghost of winter.
Yeah.
And all that you just especially in cold climates that actually have a fucking winter. Massachusetts, Quebec, you get out of that freeze season.
Yeah.
And it's all of a sudden holy shit, did we just do that?
Yeah, we just do the winter.
My God, yeah, and so you have these these ghosts of seasons that you experience. And I was thinking about that with beer, right? So you have beers that suit certain seasons, and no doubt, I drink stout. I celebrate stouts all the time,
all year long.
Yeah, but I mean, there are certain.
I am that person.
I associate brown ales with autumn.
Yeah, me, for myself, I prefer to drink stout in winter. Because the stout, if it's dry stout, I can drink it cold. If it's a stout, barrel aged stout, or chocolate stout or something, one time I drank a double stout chocolate. It was Belgium style. It's from RJ from Montreal. And they made that, it was a 5-year-old beer.
Damn.
In bottle. Barrel, aged in bottle, 5-year-old. It was an awesome experience. But yeah, and for me, that's the type of beer that I drink in winter.
Yeah.
And for summer, it's sour.
Yeah.
Sour IPAs.
Yeah.
IPAs are the style of beer that I drink all year long.
Yeah, right.
That's the style of beer that I'm not getting tired in winter or in summer.
Yeah.
Just so good.
Because it's this kind of refreshing. Beer has that power, right? To
it's refreshing,
bring you up. Yeah.
But it's reassuring. It's just it's like a cocoon.
Gives you some love.
Some big love.
Flannel PJs. But, yeah. But so we thought about that, and so our logo has all of the old clock calendar runes on it to symbolize the passing seasons. And things like that. So that's kind of I was thinking of the Bell Witch album when I was kind of when we were bringing this whole concept together. I was I love the idea of the interplay of the brutality of the four elements and how they kind of invoked that. Why don't we do that with the seasons?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then we can have almost a hyper focus, especially because Massachusetts, unlike kind of Oregon, has four very separate
times of year.
Times of year, yeah. So it was just a perfect location to root the idea and the concept in. I mean, Oregon, it's you have the sunny season and then you have the dark season, and
or the wet season.
Yeah, the wet season. Yeah,
very wet.
Yeah,
the wet and the dry season.
It starts to drizzle and it drizzles for 8 months, and then you get 4 months of cloudless sunshine.
Yes.
Yeah. Whereas Massachusetts has such prominent and very personality seasons, right? Like what you would think of, like classic rainy, sunshiny spring, like I don't know, maybe
that
like
dark cold winter.
Yeah.
Very hot summer.
And I know like nobody talks about this, but like the autumns are really fucking cool out here.
Oh,
like, I don't want to let out the secret.
Careful.
Yeah, it's always the I don't know what is the famous secret of like Massachusetts with autumn, but like in Quebec,
it's the leaves. All right,
it's the leaves, but you know it's the same.
Everybody's gonna move here.
I know, man.
Yeah, but you know.
The leaves.
You
if
say
it's not the property
leaves.
taxes that get them, it's the leaves.
Do you want to know what is a real autumn like in Quebec? The leaves are all like orange, red.
Yeah.
It's always like that.
Yeah,
like in October.
You ever see Shades of Brown? We got it.
Oh shit!
And that's like ice cider season up in Quebec, right?
Yeah, it is. It is. Like Quebec, we're just like the cousins. We're just the cousins, like of East Coast America.
Yeah.
That's what we are. We're just a cousin, a weird French cousin.
Yeah, it was so cool meeting ice cider makers so we do Franklin County Cider Days every year up here, and it's like a big, when there's not a pandemic going on, like cider makers from all over the world. So you get like Brittany cider makers, Normandy cider makers, like. Basque cider makers, and then obviously folks come down from Quebec, and like that was the first time I'd ever had ice cider. I was just like working in the cellar over at Artifact, like 10 in the morning, and all these folks come in. They're like, "Hey, you ever had ice cider?" Yeah. And so we just like started trading. It's like, so what is talking to them about like. So what is your apple terroir up there, and things like that. It was such a cool just like impromptu meet and greet, and like they were like really into the fact that we were spontaneously fermenting everything and
great.
Tasting through apples and things like that. Man, it was so cool.
Have you ever thought about doing like ice beer? It's like ice cider.
Yeah.
But just why I got this question because
you're Quebec, right?
Yeah.
Well,
exactly. That's all it is.
That's all it is.
That's all it is. But Beauregard, it's a place in Montreal. They're doing like dark beers, always dark beers.
Yeah.
And they did recently ice beer. So like it's 18%, 18% beer. Brutal. It's intense. It's brutal. Yeah. Have you ever thought about doing that? Because you got ice cider.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about doing ice beer?
So we've got. So what we did, one of our projects at Artifact, we made this cider called Wilkins.
Okay.
And so we had a big plastic tote, spontaneously fermented mix of apples. I think we had Kingston Blacks, and then another variety from this orchard, Scott Farm, up in Dummerston.
Yep.
We took the tote, sealed it up. So Wilkins is a legendary cider maker from Herefordshire in England, and he has this method where he ferments his totes out in his like sheep field. They're solid black during the summer, solid black plastic totes. He has like a ditch that's like in the solid concrete on his farm because his hose has sat there for so long that he uses to fill his tanks up. And so he presses his apples. He just lets them roll. They're on this like steep ass hill. He lets them roll down the hill. He presses them and fills up these solid jet black tanks. Just lets them go. No temperature control, no nothing. And when they're done fermenting, seals them up with a trash bag on top so there's no oxygen going in or out.
Oh.
And then lets them sit over winter, freeze, thaw, like all that stuff. And then that's what he racks into these huge oak tanks that he just pours you still cider out of. If you go visit
that's
gangster, dude.
Pure
gangster. So gangster. So what we did at Artifact is we took this plastic tote outside, we sealed it up Wilkins style, trash bag, left it outside the entire winter, let winter do its thing, and then we brought it back in and racked it, and it's like the most tannic, like scrumpy cider you could ever imagine.
That's
and
a
it's
good
like
word.
You have to sometimes like especially coming from the brewing world, like there's this like delicate, almost like velvet glove touch that brewers want to bring to the beer. They're so afraid of like hurting it or like harming it, and like cider makers and winemakers are like, fuck that shit. Let's put it outside. Like, let's put it outside all winter, and then like let's check on it like next year. You know, and like see what that. So like that was one of those lessons that I learned. And so we have 2 barrels of Johnny Flip Flops that we put in rum barrels that are out on the dock. And so basically over winter, we're just gonna kind of let the oak and the like expansion and contraction do its thing with the beer inside, and then like potentially like see if we can like chip some ice out of it, you know, and like kind of thing like that. So it's one of those like takeaways. You know, you mentioned ice beer, which is like the intentional freezing like in the tank, but like I'm coming at it from like, you know, a cider maker, winemaker perspective.
Yeah,
that's
what I thought.
Let's like punish this beer a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I was
going to see what happens to it.
I know there's a technique called Eisenbach. There's
Eisbach.
Eisbach. Yeah, there's Eisbach.
Yeah.
But like I cited like the ice beer that I saw, I was like, it's not Eisbach, isn't it? I wasn't sure about it.
Yeah.
And
it's like it's such a tradition around here. You talk to people like who grew up like you know, in the hill towns, you know, in Western Mass, and it's like everybody had a barrel, you know, out in the barn, and you know, you lop the hogshead off the top of it, you fill it up with apple cider, let it naturally ferment in there, and then they just let it go all winter, and they'd come out there with, you know, an ice pick, pull the ice out, so you're concentrating. It's like, right, that's called jacking, right, where you make an apple jack, essentially, like coming out, and like that can get a little dangerous.
I feel like I learned something new about this fucking state, like every time. It's just like the craziness, that people do.
So
it's craziness, but it's the same type of craziness that we have in Quebec.
Well, like, imagine being the first guy that figured that out. Like, he was just lazy one day and he just forgot to empty it. And he just walked over and he was like,
man,
you know what?
Man,
you know
like
what? This thing's pretty good.
Like, Poutine, someone just said, oh, let's take sauce, let's take cheese curd, and let's take fries, and let's mix it, and it's the best thing in the world.
So like,
it's accidental.
The senior orchard keeper at Pine Hill, you know, was like kind of like giving me some shit one day where he's like, I used to be able to get barrels for like $10 from these, you know, distilleries and stuff, and I just park them in the barn and make cider. He's like, now with all you craft beer assholes, like all these barrels are, you know, like $150 now. I want one. He's like, they were just trying to get rid of them back in the day. But
and now with those barrels, we can make like some maple syrup barrelade.
Exactly.
Phil brought me a can of maple syrup. A can of maple syrup. It's like one of our friends that is making maple syrup. Like, it's just perfect thing. And recently in Quebec, there is like a place called BG, Brasserie Urban Brewery. They made a maple syrup barrel aged bourbon.
Yeah.
It's intense. Like, you put it in your crepes or pancakes, or even in your sausage or bacon.
It's like
a
state asset.
Yeah.
Right?
It's
like
because
controlled.
like you got the maple syrup is just so good. Like maple syrup from Canada, more Quebec, but Canada in general is just so great. And put it in bourbon barrels.
Yeah.
Imagine like this flavor. The flavor of bourbon with the maple is just so great.
Such a profile.
Yeah.
Such a profile. I want to change gears real quick. I want to talk about music.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we do that too, I guess.
I guess.
I don't know. I don't want to talk too much about our albums of the year because our stuff is yet to come out. Check that out on VOX&HOPS when that comes out because we're giving Matt our
VOX&HOPS.
list.
Yeah.
We're giving Matt our list.
Such a dope shirt.
Yeah. Water. Show him the back. That's it's a good saying there. Water makes you rust when you're made of metal.
Yes.
Oh yes. It's hell yeah.
I was like, I'm coming to Four Phantoms. I have to.
Oh my god.
The fermenter is so good.
Yeah.
What's some of your favorite albums this year, you two?
So we have been kicking the new Remy Wolf. If you guys have never heard of her, not metal, but like it's like this, just like totally like almost like spastic like whiplash electro pop. And she's like just raw as fuck, like holds like nothing back. But it's also like really fun. She's like so vulnerable and like it cuts so deep and like there's some brutal stuff on that album, but it's like all over these like really fun like electro pop beats and things like that, which is like I love that contrast of like really being like, oh man, like when you listen to the lyrics it's like, wow, this is a song about pain, but it's like,
but it makes you want to dance.
Yeah, and this like dance to
you want to dance about it?
Yeah.
I'm talking about pain. Yeah. I'm going to suffer.
That's exactly right.
Dude, that nap just made you energized. God, we gotta get you to take a nap before every episode. Holy crap, that's awesome. That's sick.
But in terms of metal, like Wisconsin, the new Bongzilla that just came out. I don't care how many weed puns there are. I don't care if like the riffs are not like brand new and like crisp. I will take any stoner metal album that you give me.
Have you heard Frog Lord?
Yes.
Frog Lord is on my top 10 this year. God. I love that record. Yeah. Mystic Toad is top notch.
Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of stoner. I love stoner. I'm a big fan. This year it's year of technical death metal.
Yeah. Tech death has been a huge
Tech death is pretty huge. I got a rock album. I will say it like I have to say it's Night Flight Orchestra. I don't know if you know about them.
Oh yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Metalheads that do like rock, 80s rock. It's so good. It's so good. Like I was like a little bit like worried about the second album, the Aromantic 2. I was worried because Aromantic 1 was so good. Yeah. I was like, sequel, would it be good? It was better. So better. But like it's on a place in my thought that it's a little bit below than the last one. But so much good album this year. Yeah. So much.
It's fantastic. I have things in there, Werewolves for sure. I have Bone Carver.
No,
there's Fossilization, He Whose Name Was Long Forgotten. Cannon Fiber. The Musa Shell, or however you say that. Menschmühle. Yeah, German. So I don't know how to say it.
I don't know either.
Man, there just has been Endseeker.
Yeah, the
Endseeker, Mount Carcass. It's been fantastic.
Oh, fuck. Elder put out a new album.
Elder?
This year, which was
honestly
phenomenal.
You have to put a list because I have to maybe get one stoner on my list before I send it to Evan. I got my list over here, but I won't like show it because I don't want to tell like the places.
It's fantastic.
Oh, and by the way, I searched about Dave Whitty. He's not in Trappist.
I feel like that's a crime. That dude is the biggest.
I know. Okay, so
he's the biggest craft beer nerd in the world.
Formed in 2014, consisting of scene legends Chris Dodge from Spaz, Ex Despise You, Ex Infest, etc. Phil Vera from Crom, Despise You and All, and Ryan Harkins, co-owner of popular heavy metal team Burger Joint, Grill Them All.
Nice.
So,
yeah, I thought somebody from Municipal Waste was in that band.
Yeah, I thought so, but no, it's not.
I feel like
maybe just because it sounds so much like Municipal Waste.
Yeah, it sounds Municipal Waste, but Trappist got this grindcore feeling.
They do, yeah.
It's just like, Municipal Waste is trash and got this feeling a little bit very heavy, but this is grindcore. Yeah. It's intense. It's 1 minute.
It's like
less.
Standing. What was the fucking song? Standing in the beer line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good.
It's so great.
Yeah, I feel like if there's going to be a craft beer band, Dave Whitty has to be a part of it.
Yeah.
I'm curious about something.
Yeah, we talked. So we talked with Municipal Waste back in the day when I was at the Crystal about doing a show, and we just couldn't make the numbers work, and they're East Coast, and we were all the way out on the West Coast. But that's like the one that got away, right?
Have you ever thought about doing?
Dave is so into it, and he's so about it. It's awesome.
I'm curious about it.
He brings such an energy.
You talk about Four Phantoms and the season and all. Have you ever thought about doing like a collab, music collab? Like you do a 4-song EP about like the 4 season, not like Winter Sun, but like something that is representative of the brewery.
Yeah.
But something that is very you, but different with different band from Western scene or from Massachusetts scene. Have you ever thought about it?
Yeah, I was just about to mention Carnivora, who's out your way. Sort of. You're Worcester.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, so they're a little past you in Salem.
Yeah.
But they've got a new, speaking of Tech Death, they've got a new album coming out, hopefully soon. That they've been
Carnivora?
Yeah, Carnivora. They've been working on it, God, for like 10,000 years. But it's going to be their second full length. It's going to be coming out soon. But yeah, I worked with Dan at Artifact, their drummer, and he is just like an absolute phenom. Man, that whole band just hits so hard.
That's like a 380 BPM.
So we're getting into the Massachusetts metal family, right? So Brian Westbrook, who drums for Power Up and Lich King, is out here, and so he does RPM Fest every year out here, along with Promoterhead and a bunch of other stuff. So the idea eventually would hopefully to get all of these kids from all of these different bands all on one project and have it be,
like you do, imagine an EP, you take different bands, each band wrote their own song, but it's with the feeling of Four Phantoms. It's around Four Phantoms, you'd say, oh, I want a theme about this beer, for example, not Johnny Flip Flops. I don't know how to do a song with Johnny Flip Flops, so it's like the Baroness. The song The Baroness could be nice, or Purple Potion.
So funny thing about Johnny
Flip-Flops is,
that dude, so he was I was in a band with him. We played old time, kind of string punk type music. What I didn't know when he joined the band is our washed up bass player. He was a buddy of a buddy, and we used to practice in his basement. But he was the tour manager for a ton of bands back in the day, Less Than Jake, and then this band called Ass Chapel. Have you ever heard of them? So they had a song called Breathing the Fire, and John would fucking get on stage and breathe the fucking fire. He was their fire breather.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And I had no idea about any of this shit. He was just this chill as fuck, seemingly retired. He was I used to be on the road a bunch, but I'm done with that now. And he was he started a vegan restaurant with his wife and all this shit. And I was oh, John's just this chill guy. And our other bandmate was dude, you should look up some pictures of this dude on the internet. Research his tour manager stuff, and there's some fucking wild stuff out there from when he was
crazy
tour managing for so that's Johnny Flip Flops. He was he was the guy who kind of mentored me when I was playing music back in the day, inspired me to start this business. Jim and I were 2 of his first employees at his vegan restaurant. Mm-hmm. We went on tour together and shit like that. So just solid homie,
Wow. Okay, so we need to make a song about Johnny Flip Flops.
So we should make a Johnny Flip Flop song. Yeah.
Fuck it, he's the album cover.
Easy album cover.
He is
but I'm thinking really you take all the name of the beers and you make songs about it.
Yeah. I think that's a great idea, and we have such a cool metal community out here, and my personal favorite metal sub genre, right, thrash is still alive and so fucking healthy out in Western Mass. So having thrash and doom and stoner and stuff like that, I think could be
like
it's
very
a fucking great idea, man.
It's very
and like bring all of the community that's out here together and like make a fucking record.
And it's
awesome.
very cool you say that, because obviously here in the Massachusetts, Boston area, we're known for hardcore.
Yeah,
that is our thing. We're hardcore, and you still see that here. But it's like you have different bands that are still coming out that are very death metal, and like very death metal, very death doom. GOG, is one that I think of. We have Mourn, Sign the Maggot stuff. They're still more sort of crossover, but they hammer more of the death metal tones. We have like a folk black metal band, Dozo Naga, and they just had a beer that came out with Bona.
Oh,
and then
talk about living it, though.
Yeah, seriously.
Right? Like, I remember on a podcast episode, you were like, if you're gonna do black metal, live that shit.
Live it.
Like,
live
and I
black
feel like
metal.
Thrash is the same way.
Yeah.
Like, don't half-ass thrash. Like, drink fucking PBR from the moment you get up to the moment you fucking go to sleep. Like, live that shit.
Trash.
Party fucking hard.
Do Chris trash shit. You just like wake up, you take a beer, and you're just like going like on your drums or guitar, and then you just like take beer all the time.
Dude, and like all day. And then like with black metal, right? You get up in the morning, you sacrifice a goat to Satan. You cover yourself up in blood, and then you fucking start writing riffs, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You sit in a cave and you get depressed.
Yeah, thanks for coming in, guys.
We're gonna head out to dinner now.
Thanks so much for coming in.
Do you guys need more beers?
I would love another beer.
I would love
What would you like? How grab it?
Oh, what is that? What's the new one you guys got? Is that the Irish Stout?
The Bargas Brown.
Yes.
Yeah.
Vargas. I love that. That's like a ghost dog.
Make it 2.
2 browns?
Yeah.
2 browns.
I'll do another Irish Stout.
2 browns to go.
2 browns?
Not to go. We're not going anywhere.
Not now.
Oh my God. It's so cool though that because Massachusetts doesn't really have Bone Up is cool. Okay. Yeah, Bone Up is cool, but Bone Up is not a metal brewery.
Yeah.
This is about as close as we have to a metal brewery.
Yeah,
pretty much.
So
it's like pretty close
to definitely like just to make sure that like they get the attention. Like River Styx has been doing their thing for a long time, and then Gilded Skull is another one.
Oh yeah,
and I think Three Floyds is the big one.
Yeah, and so those are 2 mass breweries that I think like have definitely like feel the riddle of the steel, right?
Yes.
Like. They're definitely metal influenced, like awesome folks, awesome brewers. And Gilded Skull is one that I want to point out. Like that guy, his passion for like blending and like doing wild and spontaneous like mixed culture fermentation. I think he's only doing contract like kind of clean stuff in the market right now. But like when he gets a shop and when he gets a brick and mortar, it's gonna be fucking awesome. So like, and he's out in your area,
really,
so like Central Mass, So yeah, he's kicking around there right now. I forget the name of the brewery he's contracting at right now, but like, as soon as that dude gets his own shop, it's like gonna be fucking magic. So definitely check out.
That's
like,
exciting.
Like, I would love it if people buy our shit, obviously, but in the absence of our shit, check out River Styx. I think they're in Leominster. And then,
thank you.
And then Gilded Skull, and they're all over the place.
That's awesome.
Yeah, great stuff.
That's sick. I'm always in search of places like that, for sure. And then obviously like Bone Up has huge character.
Yeah,
they have huge character.
Kind of like Widowmaker, right?
Widowmaker,
like,
yes.
Widowmaker. Like a lot of breweries, like heavy like metal influence, but like not leaning all the way into it. But you get those references every now and then, which is dope. And they're now distributed by our same distributor, so we're like label mates, kind of.
Oh, nice. That's nice. That's very nice.
They make great liquid. Yeah, Widowmaker, River Styx, Gilded Skull, all great Massachusetts breweries to check out.
It's nice. It's nice because what I want to do is obviously thank you very much. Oh my gosh, that's black as my soul.
Black as my soul.
But what I want to do, that is delicious. what I want to do eventually is, we had the VOX&HOPS Brutal North America.
Yeah.
That was obviously there was so many bands in that. Broken Goblin. They had Three Voids in there.
Yeah.
They had True. They had was Mutoid.
No, not Mutoid.
Not Mutoid.
No, in Quebec we had Huitième Péché, the Ave Sin, and it's a metal brewery. But it's not a brewery, it's a contract brewer. That's
sweet, yeah.
It's a contract brewer, and this guy made the black metal series. And it's black metal from Quebec.
Yeah.
So you got nationalists, sometimes very French, like something like Chasse Galerie or something like that.
Yeah.
Forteresse,
Yes.
like it's a big name in the black metal community in Quebec. And like this brewery made like 6 or 7 of them.
Hell yeah.
It are so good. It's like porter, stouts, like 10% all the fucking time.
Mm-hmm. Have you had any Hammerheart?
No.
Hammerheart.
So that's lung from,
I think so.
So it like is Panopticon, right?
Yeah.
Like that's his brewery.
Yeah.
Hammerheart in Minnesota, they just left their Lino Lakes. This was like, so Jen and I, when we moved out here like tail end of fucking February and did it on the road. And
drove across the country.
And Jen
in the
was
winter.
Jen was like, so we're gonna go through like the Midwest, or do you want to go through Texas and then up and like, because it's winter. And I was like,
Drew was like, I want to go through Lino Lakes.
we're gonna go the northernmost route because I need to get to Lino Lakes to drink Hammerheart beer. And it was so dope.
It was just everything you wanted.
So, like, his technique is really interesting. He hand smokes his malt. So instead of just buying like, peat smoked malt to make, a Scotch ale or whatever, fucking dude, like, homie literally like has a whole setup where he dumps a bag of like just unaltered grain over a smoker and like Minnesota wood,
Just lets it go.
just has a fire, smokes his own grain.
Wow.
And when he makes his sati, he has a hand-hewn flume that like he knocks out of to go to the tank. So traditional sati, mixed culture, no boil, right? And then like traditionally you have it go through a like hollowed out like juniper log. So he did the same thing, except it's an open air log. It's an open air flume that he gets to the tank somehow in that way. Like, guys just bringing it. So like, if you can get your hands on some Hammerheart beer, like, it's the shit. I mean, get your hands on some Panopticon albums, obviously.
We need to trade.
Yeah.
Oh my god, this episode is turning into like craft beer porn.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, because
I love
like
it.
you're talking about those American breweries, like Massachusetts brewery, but there's one thing
but
I
it's-
cannot have them. In Quebec.
But it's just the actual so passionate about the style and the processes, the new age things that kind of are coming in that differentiate one brewery from the next.
Yeah.
Because I feel like everybody can get so caught up in like you do something so well for so long, and then you suddenly. It's so hard to be like, oh, I'm gonna, the special golden gloves you said, it's just like you don't want to fuck it up.
Yeah. So scared of like, you have to do one recipe over and over and over again, and like you can't mistreat it, and like if you're gonna put it in a barrel, then it needs to be this like sterilized environment, to where it like needs to come out super clean and shit, and like the brewers that I admire are like the musicians that I admire, where they're like, fuck all that. Like, I'm gonna pull from like this tradition. So like with Panopticon, right? Like he pulls from like bluegrass, like old timey, like even like Scandinavian folk, and incorporates that into this like incredibly like emotional, like amazing black metal.
Yeah.
And I think in the same way with his beer, like he pulls from Scandinavian brewing traditions, but at the same time, it's this very like focused and like personal way that he delivers it. So like the way he makes sati is not going to be the way that like 100-year-old like Latvian grandma is gonna make sati, but it's his, you know.
Yeah.
Like, that brewery has such a unique voice.
That's his signature,
right? Like what you're talking about with the breweries up north, and like what we talked about with like, you know, breweries in Massachusetts. Like it's about that voice, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not about like recreating and like having a paint by numbers type of thing. It's like, what fucking artistry are you bringing?
It's funny
to
you're
the
talking.
conversation.
It's very funny you're talking about voice, because in Quebec, like we got like craft breweries since like the 80s, the end of the 80s. Like we got Cheval Blanc in Montreal, it was founded in '86 if I remember. And we got like craft breweries. They were good, but the problem is we were like too much inspired by Molson's and Coors and all. Like it was craft, but it wasn't like as today. And it's been like a few years that Quebec is on the map with their beers. Like there's like a company, a brand, it's called Cinquième Baron, the Fifth Baron. It's in Gatineau, up north in Quebec.
Shout out to Cruel Fate.
Shout out to Cruel Fate. And Cinquième Baron, were like, it's been 1 year that they are open, and they are already on Great Beers, like the third best brewery in the world.
Hell yeah.
So Quebec is on the map.
Yeah.
It's on the fucking map.
Man, and I gotta say, I think it's because of like February 2020 was like the last time we were up in Montreal.
Our last trip before the pandemic.
Yeah. So fucking, we were there, went to like boat, you know, like hung out, you know, and like the variety of styles that you could get was just like mind blowing. Like I could get a fucking, you know, double. I could get brown ale, like, you know, but I could also get, you know, like double IPAs and stuff like that. It was
A
like
smoothie.
or like a wild fermented saison. Like it was just the range of like the craft that the brewers had up there. And man, I would like walk into bottle shops and she would have to like kick me. Because I'd be like in a trance, like I can't decide. I want all of these beers.
Honestly, even me, I cannot decide.
Yeah.
Like on my birthday, which was in July 29th, I've been to a lot of breweries, like 3 breweries, but one brewery is like, it was like barrel aged and fermented, like spontaneous fermentation. One that is like a brand in Quebec, it's called Dunham Brewery. One of the best brewery ever, one of the best for me, and like a few tons during my trip. It was so awesome.
Nice.
And and Quebec, Montreal, and all the cities around just got one of the best brewery, just the best brewery, not in general, but the best brewery in the province.
Yeah.
In the province, even in Canada, for me, like there's a few good breweries outside the province. But in Quebec, I think we got a shit ton.
I didn't have a bad beer the entire time we were up there. Like, and in fact, like they were all like fantastic.
I would say I got a few, but I'm the guy to say don't go there.
Yes. Well, I have to say, man, what a perfect way to just top off Phil's visit. It has been fantastic having you here, and it's been fantastic to be able to come out here.
I don't want to quit.
So stoked to like finally host you guys. You know, I do have to say, like, the Super Duperstitious guys and their podcast might be a little bummed that you guys beat them to the punch of like
because that's who's I mean, you guys
I
sponsor us.
We would sponsor you too. Yeah,
we would sponsor us. I mean, that'd be cool.
You
don't have to give us
anything. Send me a proposal.
No, honestly, you don't have to give us anything.
We don't want anything. We just want to be able to say it.
No, I mean, like, fucking podcasts are like, it's like, this is the new zine, right? Like, this is a grassroots thing. You can fucking do it yourself. Like, you can edit it, you know, and like polish it on your time off, and like it gets the word out about like all of this cool shit.
Oh, there was no polishing with us. We are straight, just DIY backwoods. We talk about anything and everything. Like, I'll hit you with the one that everybody loves right now. It's Is hot dog a sandwich?
Man, I don't want to fight anybody tonight.
Hot dog is.
but that depends on your answer.
But it's a sandwich, though.
Oh man, no, dude.
Isn't it though?
No,
like
it's not.
meat, but
It's handheld with bread.
yeah, but why
It's
is
its own
okay?
thing.
Okay. Let us.
Okay, so is it not if you put sauerkraut on it?
Okay,
though, is it then a sandwich?
I
it's
will
still
tell
hot
you. I will tell you why it's not a sandwich. It's simple.
But what if it's a sausage?
Okay.
with sauerkraut on it?
Is that a
It's
sandwich?
simple, and think about it. Let's be open-minded. Okay,
Clearly, we gave the wrong answer.
it's
We're
one
the
bread.
only ones to say
A
that.
sandwich, it's 2 bread. A hot dog is 1 bread. So it can't be a
But
sandwich.
it encompasses it on either
It's-
side.
It's one.
But
It's
it's
one
one.
because you
It's
got
one
the
and the
bottom.
same.
It's one fucking
Yeah.
bread.
Yeah, you
So
see?
it's a hot dog.
Look what we do, huh? This is fantastic.
Just tearing the community apart.
Your question is
this
like
is-
the best question
This
ever.
this is when I figured out that people actually listen to us, because up until this point we have 40. This will be 46
Yeah.
episodes, and then we,
No, like 40
It doesn't.
episodes.
40, 46,
No, 40.
45.
We are at 45 now.
We're at 45, but this will be 46.
Yeah.
So, math. And, but what
I
happens-
suck at math.
what happens is you go 45 episodes or 40 whatever episodes not knowing that people listen, and then out of nowhere you ask one crazy question and then everyone comes out of the woodwork. Everyone has an answer,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh wow, I guess people really
Yeah.
do care.
I mean, that's why I said what I said, because I remember listening to the first podcast when you brought it up and just being like, ooh, people are going to throw hands.
Oh,
Yeah.
you know, for the most part, people agree with us, logical human beings.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's also like a super reliable sample size.
Yeah, sure. You know you won't get a sponsor now.
The Evan of the Void podcast looked at all the results, and I said that yes, it confirms that I am correct.
Listen, I am a purveyor. I'm a purveyor of dogs. All things meaty and slim.
Hey,
So I know.
But yeah,
I
when
know.
you think about it, like it's one.
no, you're right though, and you're like, you're not going to list it. Like if you put it on a menu, you're not going to put it under the sandwich.
Like the other question would be, is
Part.
burger a sandwich? Well, the answer is yes. It is a sandwich.
So, is it the 2 breads? Is that the quintessential
For
difference?
me, it's like
I just gotta run.
Jen will be closing out this portion.
I just want to know like what the
Yeah,
quintessential like feature
Okay.
is. It's the
For
2
me,
breads.
it's 2 breads and plus because you got a Big Mac from McDonald's, so it's 3 or 4 or 5, whatever. But for me, it's 2 bread. Like
don't
it's
need to-
in my books, it's 2 bread.
We don't need to bring McDonald's into this.
Yeah, I just bring it because like it's the most recognizable, like more than 2 breads.
True.
So
That's 3.
and like I was going to say, is taco a sandwich? Well, it's not a sandwich because it's one shell. It's like the hot dog. It's one shell.
So then
it's
but
what
But
it is.
that's what some people like to do. They like to be like, oh well, no, hot dog isn't a sandwich. It's not a hot dog. It's a taco. And then I'm like, I hate all of you. Say all of that.
No, but it's bread, not tortilla. Because to me, like the quintessential element of the taco is the corn tortilla.
Exact.
And like to me, the quintessential element of a sandwich is like handheld with bread, but I never really thought about it being like 2 breads.
Yeah.
So it's 2 slices as opposed to the hot dog bun is 1 slice.
Yeah, that's what I think. Like
slice of
it's handheld, so yeah, it's a sandwich
What
that
about-
way. But most sandwich are 2 breads. You take it like this, and the other you take it like this.
A great way to kind of sum it up too is like if you were young and you made a hot dog, microwaved a hot dog, and then you went to go grab a bun and there wasn't.
Are you saying microwaving a hot dog?
Yeah, you've never microwaved a hot dog. Well, you haven't
shocked.
lived. You haven't lived. So anyway, you microwave your hot dog, and you get instead of having a hot dog bun, you would be like, oh my god, my mom hasn't gone shopping because you're like 10, and you're like, oh yeah, so you just grab a piece of bread And then you just fold it around the hot dog, and there you go.
Yeah.
The hot dog bun.
What if you're 10 and you have one piece of bread and you put some peanut butter on that one piece of bread and you put some jelly on that one piece of bread and you fold it in half? Do you have a sandwich?
No, you have like a glorified piece of bread.
Yeah.
So you have an elevated bread.
You have elevated bread.
It's like a hot dog. A hot dog is just
it's
an
like
elevated bun.
It's like subpar toast. That's what it is. That's what it becomes.
I think we'll end it like the answer of the is hot dog a sandwich because it's a huge debate. It's very huge debate.
Oh, I'm asking everybody now. No, I will not stop until I get to the bottom of this.
When will it be the bottom?
Never.
Never.
It has been fantastic.
So,
Wow.
I think.
Now that we did that, oh my god.
Do you have some shout outs?
Oh, do I have shout outs? Yes, I have a shout out. It's going to be the new 200 stab wounds.
Yeah. I think we said that yesterday.
Yeah, well, I did, but I'm saying it again.
So,
slaves to the scalpel.
Yeah, 200 stab wounds. I will have. What do I have? Let's go with that. Archfire, Bleed the Future. We have to get it.
Yes.
And do you have shout outs for Ben? You're eating so good. No, eat.
Yeah, please. It's been a long day.
Definitely have a shout out. Carnivora. They have been like lifers, tech deaf lifers in Massachusetts forever.
Yeah.
From Salem. Dan is one of the most amazing drummers, you know, in the on the scene today. And then his sort of Western Mass counterpart, sort of guru, Brian Westbrook. Check out Lich King. Got a shout out to those guys. Also Goblet and Power Up. Some of the best heavy bands that they're out here. Power Up. If you've never seen a metal ska band with a trombone playing
Metal ska band?
Yeah.
This shit wrecks. They wreck fools. The Power Up show was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. Lead singer wearing white socks, nothing else, and playing the trombone, while he's also delivering one of the most hardcore performances I've ever seen.
Just socks.
Power Up is just fucking amazing.
Oh my god.
They're so good. Yeah. So,
it's incredible.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Okay, I will
Shout
add
out to
this.
them. Do you have any shout outs, Jen?
I think you covered it.
Okay.
That's a lot of shout
Yeah,
outs.
that's a lot.
That's perfect.
That's fine. Alright guys, as always, listen to all those shout outs, drink good beer, drink Four Phantoms if you ever come across it here, and I'm Evan.
And I'm Phil, and see you on the next episode. Cheers, Gog.